Oh, it's really going slow.
When we do these things, I have to clean my apartment.
All right. Welcome to Matinee Heroes presents CastOFF. I am your host, Craig Price, and we are live. Hopefully, at some point, we will be there. There we go. It's a little bit slow today. We've got a lot of extra stuff going on. We're actually trying to stream onto Facebook as well as Twitch and onto our YouTube channels. We've got a great show for you. This is our third one, and we're only a week late, but may the 4th be with you because we're doing Star Wars this week. This is the show where we take 3 contestants, let them duke it out, recasting your favorite actors in movies you love. And today's show, as always, is sponsored by Matinee Heroes. That's right, Matinee Heroes. This week we've got past champion Valerie Cameron from Movies That Make Us talking about Days of Thunder. So if you have not listened to the podcast, this is where CastOFF was created inside the podcast. So you can go to matineeheroes.com, subscribe to the podcast, and you can hear that this Saturday with Valerie Cameron. Also, we've got. Let me tell you that we are on Twitch TV at Matinee Heroes. At Matinee Heroes, we're on YouTube, which that channel has not been. We need 50 people to subscribe before we can name it. So it's if you just Google Matinee Heroes, or you can go to matineeheroes.com/castoff, and there you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. But if you guys are ready, we will introduce today's guests. Yeah, it's like I said, it's just going slow. The computer is going, it's working its hardest, it's trying its best, and the lag is just undeniable. So our first guest is from Everything I Learned from Movies, and if you listen to the podcast, you have heard Steve before. He is Steve of Stizzy, the most important member. Don't tell
Absolutely
Izzy that I said that. But yeah, you know what? I think the fact that we have Facebook involved is what's causing the delay. So we will.
Oh no.
Yeah. So Steve, tell us what goes on over there on Everything I Learned from Movies. I know today a podcast that I was on came out.
That's right. We're celebrating Alien Manhunt May, and we did an episode for Predator 2 with Craig of Matinee Heroes. You may have heard of him, or maybe hearing him right now.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. That's not a definite.
Exactly. But yeah, we got more. We watch bad to questionable movies, talk about them a little bit, and talk about. Most of the time, we end up gushing over them, or occasionally picking apart little stupid things. But it's always a lot of fun.
Our next guest is Tracy Mangum from Everything I Learned from Movies. Tracy, you have the added pressure of knowing that Valerie has already won this one. So you're the second member of the triad, and now you're going to come on and see if you can win the championship.
I've got big shoes to fill, but I'm going to do my best.
So what's going on over there at Everything Movies That Make Us? Everything's got movies in it.
Yeah. So we talk about movies that we love, movies that have made us who we are, movies that continue to make us. It's really a celebration of cinema and film. 3 really good friends hanging out, talking about movies, what we like, what we don't. We sometimes get a little critical, but usually we are celebrating these different movies.
Next up, from the Celtic Ray Filmworks, the director of Cuck, streaming on Amazon Prime, ladies and gentlemen, Richard Jensen.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Are you doing okay up there in Oregon?
Well, let's see. My hair hasn't been this long since 2003, and that's about it. I'm tired. I'm hungry. I'm isolated. I am this close to writing out my manifesto. So,
Well, great. If you can wait until after the show to commit suicide, we'd really appreciate it.
oh no, I'm not committing suicide. It's going to be no.
Okay. Well, let's get to the rules. So, the rules are pretty simple. I give you a character. You name an actor. If I think you're the best choice, it'll be 1 point. And right now, because I can barely keep the show running by itself, and we only have like 9 viewers, the voting is all done by me. And because of that, I have secretly created my own selection. And if you pick one of mine, you will get a bonus point. So there's chances for you to get 2 points for each one if I think that your selection is the best choice, or if I think yours is the best choice and it's my choice. Then the person with the most points wins. And here's something that you guys don't know that I'm springing on you now. If there is a tie, we do a double feature, which is a segment on the podcast where we pick a movie that goes well with Star Wars, and you cannot pick any other Star Wars related movie to double feature with. So if there's a tie, double feature to win. Everything okay with that?
Let's do it.
Okay.
All right. Well, before we do, just to remind everybody that if you're looking for shirts, we have Matinee Heroes shirts at our store. You can go to matineeheroes.com and get a shirt. They're only $20. We've got great ones right now. You can see our Manny Telorian shirt. We've got our Batman and Anti-Heroes. So Matinee Heroes shirt with the Joker and Batman, all done by Joel Micah Harris. They're fantastic and custom just to us. So if you guys are ready, let's start A New Hope. And we'll start off with Luke Skywalker. Now, Luke Skywalker is the farm boy that we all come to love and know and love. So we'll start with Steve. Steve, who have you decided on for Luke Skywalker, played by the amazing Mark Hamill?
Well, I used my mystical magical time machine to go back to the year of 1991 and pick up River Phoenix. You may have seen him briefly at the beginning of Last Crusade of Indiana Jones. The movie I remember watching where it was like, oh wow, this guy can actually really, really act. Has anyone else seen Little Nikita? Where he's like, his parents are like Russian insurgents and he's finding out, and I don't know. It's a good one. Check it out. But he's got quite a...
He's really good because we did Stand By Me on the podcast and Mosquito Coast. He is a fantastic actor that we definitely lost way too soon. And so I think that's a great way to start with a good River Phoenix.
Excellent. Thank you.
Well, we'll move on to Tracy. Tracy, who have you decided on for your Luke Skywalker?
So I wanted somebody who would be able to play the young, innocent Luke, but would be able to grow into the more diverse range of emotions that he has to provide later. One of my favorite younger actors, I went ahead and picked Freddie Highmore.
Freddie is fantastic. We've seen him in a lot of things like Bates Motel, The Good Doctor. He's also the little kid in that crying bench meme from Finding Neverland. So if you have not seen that, yes, he's really good. He's a little baby-faced, but that's okay for Luke Skywalker in A New Hope.
Yep, that's what I was going for. Somebody that would look the role but be able to carry the emotional heft later in this film and in future films.
Well, Richard, we'll move on to you and find out who you think would be a good Luke Skywalker. Who do you got?
Well, I decided to go all the way back to the 1950s, and my choice is Roddy McDowall.
Roddy, you went way into the time machine and picked up... I had to find a picture of Roddy McDowall that was in color because it was hard to find one.
And not in ape makeup.
Yep, because that's... What do we know Roddy McDowall from? Monkeying around in Planet of the Apes movies, but a lot of people know him from Fright Night, if you remember him as... I guess he was the doctor that the occultist that they picked. And this was the original Fright Night, not the David Tennant one. And then he is in a slew of Disney movies. Why Roddy McDowall?
Well, I went back to the 50s where he started out as a child actor, and I just went with somebody who would look babyface at the same time as he was the same age as Mark Hamill. And he is an awfully good actor. I think he I could see him doing Luke Skywalker.
Yeah, well, we'll do a quick recap here. River Phoenix, which is a strong entry. Freddie Highmore, very good choice as well. And Roddy McDowall, he's a very good, strong opening, but I think I'm going to have to go with River Phoenix because of the three, River Phoenix is just an amazing actor we lost too soon, who I think is a little more physically capable than Freddie Highmore or Roddy McDowall. Because when I see River Phoenix, when he plays the young Indiana Jones, it's not like he was awkward and weird, and I think he would grow into the part, and I think River Phoenix would do the same thing. So let's move on to Han Solo, played by the amazing Indiana Jones. I mean, Harrison Ford. So, Tracy, who have you decided on in the iconic role? I guess I would even say the one that a lot of people just absolutely love and is the runaway hit from this first show. Harrison Ford's, main appearance. Who do you have?
So I wanted somebody who would be able to fit the swashbuckling role, somebody that would be very handsome to fit into the Han Solo role. I wanted somebody who would be able to portray the rogue aspects of him, but somebody with a very commanding presence. So I went with Paul Newman.
Absolutely. Paul Newman is amazing, and he may be too handsome. That's the problem with Paul Newman.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we all know Paul Newman from a plethora of things, as including his salad dressing and his popcorn. But he was on He was in Road Perdition, which was one we covered here at Matinee Heroes. Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, and of course, The Color of Money, which is amazing. That's another strong choice, having Paul Newman do that.
And he was also a champion race car driver, so
absolutely,
that's there too.
And we talk about him at length in Days of Thunder this weekend with Valerie Cameron. So, Steve, who do you have?
Well, I went back to the 50s for a young man by the name of James Garner. You may know him as Brett Maverick.
Oh, wait a minute! I'm sorry, Steve. Steve.
Oh.
You know what? It's not your turn.
Well,
it's not your turn. It's my fault. It goes.
Okay.
You go in order.
You said Steve.
I did say Steve. That was my fault. That was completely my fault because I was looking at it going. So, Richard, it is your turn. You also went to the 1950s. That's why I also got lost because I'm like, oh, Steve's got it.
I wanted somebody kind of laconic, somebody who had an easy machismo to him. And I almost went with Bogart, but I thought, no, the Ford Bogart thing's been kind of played out. So I went with Robert Mitchum.
Now, Robert Mitchum, he may be a little too tough. One's too handsome. This one's too tough. We did Out of the Past with him. He's one of these film noir anti-heroes. And he was also the narrator for Tombstone, which we did. But yeah, I think that's a solid pick for an actor to play Han Solo, to play a roguish scoundrel.
Yeah, I could totally see him selling most of the dialogue in that movie. He's got that kind of tough, laconic, I don't give a shit tone to him that would work beautifully for Han.
I don't think anybody could sell the dialogue in that movie. It was.
That's a separate conversation.
So, Steve, it is your turn now. We're back on track. Who have you decided for as Han Solo?
Brett Maverick himself, James Garner from the late 50s, early 60s, early 20s. James Garner. He's just dripping with charisma. It's a bit of a smart ass. We all know him from the Rockford Files in his later years and stuff. But go back and watch some of his old movies. He's exactly. Oh, I like that you have Tank on the.
I did. I put that just for you.
I love that.
So I was thinking of the movies. We covered The Great Escape and Victor Victoria for the movie. For the podcast, and so I figured, well, I would get this for you. So Tank would be something that would be right up your alley.
Absolutely.
And I should put a quick word for the Americanization of Emily, directed by Arthur Hill, a script by Patty Chayefsky. Really good film.
Yeah, oh well, James Garner's amazing. So we've got Paul Newman, we got Robert Mitchum, and we got James Garner. This one was pretty tough. This one was really tough, but you got to go James Garner. He fits that. He is the Maverick. He's perfect for that. And with that, Steve jumps out to a 2-0 lead. Strong showing.
Don't worry, he'll lose it later.
You've seen this. All right. So next up is Carrie Fisher playing Princess Leia, the only female in the entire movie. I think there's some background extras in the cantina, but
there's the aunt.
Briefly. Oh, Aunt Beru, sure, but she looked like a man, so that doesn't really count. So we'll go with Richard. Richard, who have you decided would be a great Princess Leia, scrappy, spunky, tough fighter?
Well, there's really only one choice I had in my head from the get-go, and, it's keeping it in the family, Debbie Reynolds.
See, that one is like a slam dunk because Debbie Reynolds is perfect for this because she's cute, but she's scrappy. She's Carrie Fisher's mom, but she's multi-talented. She can sing, she can dance. In later life, she was great in In-N-Out and Mother, so she knows how to be snarky. So, yeah, I think Debbie Reynolds is fantastic.
Good choice.
Very good. Now we go to Steve. Steve, who have you decided on for Princess Leia?
Well, are you sure it's my turn? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm positive it's your turn.
I went with 2008 Emma Watson when she's around 18, 19 years old. From the Harry Potter series at that point, but just young, innocent, but yeah, definitely a little edge to her, and again, great comedic timing.
Yeah, and she can be pissed off too. She's really good. When she was Hermione was like a grumpy Princess Leia, so she fit that perfect. Well, we'll go to go ahead.
And in a story about space wizards, you got to have Hermione.
Yes. Tracy, who have you decided on as Princess Leia?
So this one came to me right away. I went ahead and said Katharine Hepburn, young Katharine Hepburn.
Oh, absolutely. And
that was right about
now, did you pick her because she also has a weird English accent at times, like Carrie Fisher did in Star Wars?
That's just the icing on the cake.
Yeah, she was.
No, I wanted somebody who would be able to spar with Han Solo, somebody that would be spunky and energetic, somebody that wouldn't take any crap from anybody, and could lead this rebellion. So I went with Katharine Hepburn.
Yes, and it's weird because the first time I even remember her is because of On Golden Pond. Only then did I find out all of the other great stuff that she did afterwards. So by the time I figured out who she was already like 100 years old. So Princess Leia, let's do a recap here. Debbie Reynolds, Emma Watson, Katharine Hepburn. Well, of course you got to keep it in the family. So Richard on the board with one with Debbie Reynolds. Well done.
Boom!
Boom. He's
good. That was a good one.
Hole, in the pipe, 5
okay. Well, don't get cocky.
Please shooting, kid. Don't get cocky.
So we move on to the
down.
Yeah, we move on to the villain, and this is by order of the credits. So we have the great Peter Cushing, known by many as the horror legend, but also he played Doctor Who at one point. For those of you who didn't know, he was in the Doctor Who movie back in the 60s. So we have a Whovian in the room. Steve, who did you pick for the diabolical and menacing Grand Moff Tarkin?
Well, if you know anything about the podcast, everything I learned from movies, we have to work Sir Nicolas Cage in whenever possible. So I have present-day Nicolas Cage playing Grand Moff Tarkin, just now when he's just starting to reach that peak of perfect acting.
Yes. Well, we have... I was trying to look at him now, and he doesn't look as menacing. He looks more like maybe they pulled him out of a trash compactor. But
they'll shave him up before they start rolling film. But.
Sure. Oh, because you know that he prepares well in advance for all of his acting roles.
He's got like 4 lines in the movie.
Yeah. And they're all menacing. So let's see. So Tracy, now we're going to move on to you. You've got... who do you have who's going to compete with Nicolas Cage? Because let's be honest, not many people can.
No, that's a tough one. But I feel pretty good in my pick that would be able to go head to head with Nicolas Cage. I went ahead and said the great John Malkovich.
Now that is an inspired pick. I think that is fantastic because he kind of has that menacing look to him immediately. Also, he's known for being John Malkovich.
In the Line of Fire, for sure. That was the movie I kept going back to.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. In the Line of Fire and Empire of the Sun is something we did on the podcast, and you forget how evil he can be, and he also has one of those, like Christopher Walken, like William Shatner. He's got his own cadence, and,
right?
And you know it's John Malkovich just by listening to it. And I think he's got the look for it. He's definitely got a high-end bureaucrat administrator look to him. Well, let's move on to Richard. Richard, who do you have for the Grand Moff?
Well, I went kind of old school. I went 1950s, and I thought, who's a good, solid character actor villain? And I went with the one, the only, Basil Rathbone.
Now, this one is really well done, because when you have Basil Rathbone, him and Peter Cushing are pretty interchangeable as far as they're amazing actors who were kind of pigeonholed into horror, or in this case, Basil was known for Sherlock Holmes, but he was also in The Adventure of Robin Hood, in The Mark of Zorro. He was quite a fencing, swashbuckling type of guy, and I don't think a lot of people know that about Basil.
Oh yeah, he was considered one of the best swordsmen in Hollywood, actually.
So, for Moff Tarkin, Nicolas Cage, which I'll be honest with you, that ain't happening.
What?
John Malkovich.
But you can recognize his foul stench as soon as he steps on board.
Yes, I know. As soon as he steps on the set, we can smell it. John Malkovich or Basil Rathbone, and I'm gonna go old school with this because as soon as you said Basil, that fits perfectly. And so now we've got Steve and Richard tied for second. Tracy, you got to get your act together, man.
I got to get on the board, man.
I know you got it. So we're gonna start with you,
Val.
So our next is Obi-Wan Kenobi. So Tracy, Obi-Wan Kenobi, get yourself on the board. Who is good enough to be Sir Alec Guinness?
I needed somebody who was also a sir. I needed somebody who would look the part, fit the part, would give you that kind of gravitas to the role. I went with Sir Ben Kingsley.
Now this one was also another inspired choice, which is a nice way of saying I really like this one. He's, he
points. Come on.
He was. Is that why you picked him? Is because you're just looking for all the bald actors you can find?
Yep.
He was amazing in Schindler's List. He makes me cry every time in that.
Yes.
Now, Sneakers was a movie that we did recently at the last year that I had not seen, and to re-see him again, he's kind of like an Elon Musk dipshit evil doer. But then, of course, he's also played the exact opposite as Gandhi. So I think that one's really well done. Good job. I like Ben Kingsley for that.
Thank you, sir.
So now we can move on to Richard. Richard, who do you have? Do you have for Alec Guinness?
Well, I went old school, but I went slightly out of the box. When I thought Alec Guinness, I thought who else is a really incredibly versatile British actor, and I kind of slotted in Peter Sellers.
Now, Peter Sellers, that one, he can pretty much do anything because he's got a reputation of being a master of disguise. And as soon as I get that up there, we'll have it because we're having lots of back end issues tonight. I think it's the Facebook. It's going to Facebook. We may not be doing Facebook again.
Okay. Yeah, so Facebook is the cause of all our problems.
Yeah, it's the only thing different I'm doing. So
I thought Dana Carvey was the master of disguise.
Yes,
and
but
I'm also thinking kind of very late 50s, early 60s Peter Sellers, pre 8 Heart Attacks with Brett Eklund.
Well, he's amazing in the Pink Panther movies, Doctor Strangelove, and no, he wasn't in the Daniel Craig Casino Royale, Steve. I know you're confused.
Oh, no, I know the 1967 one with Orson Welles and Woody Allen. Possibly the best James Bond?
That's a nutball movie. That's a big marshmallow ball of crazy, that film.
Yeah.
It's held together with string and a Burt Bacharach score.
No, so was most of Austin Powers, so I guess that works out too.
Austin Powers was actually trying to be funny, and
I with Woody Allen, and I think they were trying to be funny. But Steve, who have you decided is going to be your Obi-Wan?
My Obi-Wan Kenobi, I went with 2008 Gary Oldman. Serious Black Days. Find an actor. He's great in everything. Even Tiptoes, he somehow manages to be a decent actor.
Yes. Well, guess what? Winner, chicken dinner. I picked Gary Oldman. You're the first person to pick the same as me. I had Gary Oldman he was the first one I cast before I started.
That was me too.
That was fantastic. So you automatically get a point whether you win this round or not. So well done. Because
Well done.
Gary Oldman is never boring. He's fantastic.
Never.
And with the exception of the Harry Potter movies, we've covered all of these. And this shows you his range. He can be the crazy. I don't know what was on his head in Bram Stoker's Dracula.
A brazier.
Yeah, but it was a brassiere. It was a very voluptuous bosom. And then he's just a regular schlub in The Dark Knight. And then, of course, you get him to the Planet of the Apes, and he's a military guy. So, yeah, well done.
Thank you. Wait, Craig, we hadn't heard your picks for the first 4 or 5.
No, because you didn't get them.
Well.
Yeah, I will definitely talk to you about them later. But I have them. I have them written down. I have them all planned out, so we can talk about that afterwards. But this is the first one, and it's not about me. It's about you guys. So we have Ben Kingsley for Tracy, Peter Sellers. Now, right there, you get your bonus point for getting the chicken dinner. So Steve bumps up to 3, but that doesn't mean you win, because Ben Kingsley, I think, would be a better Jedi Knight. And so it's one of those rare ones where I thought Gary Oldman was going to win it until Tracy submitted Ben Kingsley, and then I'm like, well, no, we've got to do something else.
I'll allow it.
It's a pity point. I'll take
It's
it.
a pity point. It's not a pity point. It's a well-earned one. So let's move on to C-3PO, who is the whiny cyber valet of space. Richard, who are you going to have? Not necessarily has to be in the suit, but the voice of C-3PO. And if he fits in the suit, that's even better.
Actually, I kind of went a little crazy, and I also put in Peter Sellers.
Yes, because
I thought the idea of casting Kenobi and C-3PO as Sellers would be kind of an interesting choice, because Sellers often would play multiple roles in his own movies. So,
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think if his voices were they that distinguishable, but he certainly has the prissy Englishman. I think any Englishman will work. No offense, Anthony Daniels, you're a great guy, but you are the reason why we love you is because you are the quintessential Englishman as far as his voice. So, yeah, I think that's a fine one. Steve?
Yeah, good pick. For my C-3PO, I went with 1992 Brent Spiner, also known as Data from Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah.
We've actually been rewatching that. We're about 5 seasons in. He's great. I completely forgot Data being such an interesting character in that show.
Yeah. So Brent Spiner, he's the whitest robot on TV. I mean, he really is. This one's a little too on the nose, but I do like Brent Spiner because, I mean, he's the crazy mad scientist in Independence Day, but my favorite of all is the hillbilly in Night Court.
oh yeah,
Oh yeah.
He was so good in that. I think that was where he first was noticed in Brent Spiner. That's a good pick. It's it's a little bit on the nose, but what are you going to do?
Yeah, when it's right, it's right.
Tracy, who do you got?
I went with somebody fairly modern. I wanted somebody that had acting range, but also vocally would fit the part. It's a little out of the box, but I went with Elijah Wood.
Now, see, this one is a little bit out of the box, but the more I think about it, the more I like it, because I think that Elijah Wood's voice is rather prissy and whiny at times.
It can be, yeah.
Yeah. So, obviously, we know him from the Lord of the Rings movie. He's been around forever. So, Elijah Wood. I like that one. That's a good one. So, let's talk about C-3PO for a second here. We've got Peter Sellers. So we got back-to-back Peter Sellers. If he is Darth Vader, I'm going to boot you off the show. We got the on-the-nose Brent Spiner and Elijah Wood. And if you just go by vocals, I'm going to have to go with Elijah Wood.
Nice.
I think that one, because when you said that, I could hear his whiny little voice, and it made perfect sense. And if you're watching, Elijah, that doesn't mean we don't like you as a person or as an actor. It's just that at times you can be really whiny.
And there's also a lot of walking in the sand, so that makes sense.
There's a lot of walking in the sand. All right. So let's go back. Where am I? I got to go back here. Nope. Got to go back. There we go. So I just want to recap. Steve's got 3. Tracy's got 1. Richard's got 2 with 1 to go.
I got 2.
Huh? Oh, that's right. You got 2. 3, 2, and 2.
Yeah.
So if Steve does not get this, it could be a tie. If Steve does win, it could take it. Of course, there's always that bonus out there as well. So let's move on to Steve. Steve, next up for you, we've got Darth Vader. Who do you have as the Dark Lord? And this is just his voice. Someone asked me if we're doing the body as well, and I'm like, come on. We're not doing the body of Darth Vader.
That can be tough. But of course, with the voice, I went with 1992 Keith David, aka the voice of Goliath from Gargoyles, and anything else you really need a deep, raspy, masculine voice and intimidating as the only the Dark Lord would be.
Keith David is great. We all know him from They Live.
Tales from the Hood.
Tales from the Hood. The interesting thing is, all 4 of these movies we've covered on the show. I didn't realize we did so many Keith David parts because he's amazing in everything.
Absolutely.
We've got him in The Thing, The Quick and the Dead. He even narrated Princess Mononoke. Did you know that?
God, I almost forgot about that. I haven't seen that film in years.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. So we'll move on to Tracy. Tracy, who do you have?
Sorry, Craig.
Go ahead.
I want somebody with a deep, menacing voice. Again, my pick's a little out of the box, but he's one of my favorite vocal actors, and I thought he'd fit in an interesting way for this. I went with Kevin Conroy.
Of course, Kevin Conroy. Kevin Conroy is the one and true Batman. If you listen to the great interview we did with him on the podcast, he is the one and true Batman. Of course, when I went to go look at his credits, almost all Batman, and then he was on The Office for 6 episodes, and he was in Yoga Hosers as Canadian Batman.
Forgot about that.
Does that mean I have to watch Yoga Hosers now?
No, you don't ever have to watch it. I would Google. I go on YouTube and see if they just have his parts. I don't even know if that's worth it. So, Richard, this is a big one. You're tied for second. You could go into first place, tie for first. Who do you have as the voice of Darth Vader?
Well, again, I went old school, and I went with Paul Robeson.
Now, you'll have to forgive me. I do know of Paul Robeson, but I've never heard him speak because he's been known for his very deep bass baritone, but he was on in 1930s in like King Solomon's Mine and Showboat. Right. So how did that come into your head?
Well, also if you go back to he did a number of recordings in the 30s of folk songs and opera. He actually had a beautiful singing voice.
Yes.
If you've ever seen Sidney Lumet's film Daniel, his voice is all over that film, singing the old 1930s labor songs. All right.
Well, I feel bad that I have not seen any of his things because again I was minus 50 when he came out. So
I think there's a bunch of his stuff is currently on Criterion if you want to seek him out.
Always trying to spend my money that I don't have. All right.
No, he's on the channel. You can go if you've already got the Criterion channel.
Yeah, I don't have the Criterion. You got to pay for that, right?
Yeah.
So don't stop spending my money. All right. God, I got enough streaming channels, and you're shilling for Criterion Collection. So for Darth Vader, we've got Keith David, Kevin Conroy, and Paul Robeson. And I'm sorry, but I will never go against Kevin Conroy. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a tie. We have never had a tie before, but we have a tie now. And so, how the tie works is on the spot. You guys have not had a chance to, so I don't have any images. I'm not going to be putting anything up on the board. What we're going to do is, as soon as I get us all together, you have to give me a double feature. And we've got to figure out what movie would go with Star Wars without it being a Star Wars movie. So, since Steve started off the entire deal, I'm going to start with Tracy. Tracy, what is your off-the-cuff double feature to play with Star Wars?
I'm going to keep it with a space theme. I'm going to go with the movie that I very much enjoyed when I was a youngster. I think it's got a lot of fun to it. I'm going to go The Last Starfighter.
The Last Starfighter, all right. Yeah, that's the one with the lizard guy, right?
Yes.
See, that's I can only go by. I've seen it once back then.
That's the video arcade game.
Yeah, where he he plays really well and becomes the winner of the world, and the aliens coming down. It's like Future Man on Hulu.
I guess
it's the same thing. All right. So Steve, you had a little bit extra time to think. Who is your double feature?
I'm actually just glad you didn't take mine because it seems like kind of an obvious on-the-nose choice, which may bury me. But Raiders of the Lost Ark. I mean,
I almost went there.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, just great late 70s, early 80s movie watching, and just iconic movies. Harrison Ford's in both of them. I mean,
well, when the chips were down, you did what you had to do. Steve, you are today's winner. Of course I'm going to pick Indiana Jones. That's a great Harrison Ford double feature. Of course. That is amazing. Yes. So
Nicolas Cage wins again.
Nicolas Cage.
Oh, done.
So just like the podcast, the final thought goes to you.
Oh.
What is your final thought for today?
Well, if you got nothing better to do, check out everything I learned from movies. Our amazing podcast. Also,
You shill!
Matinee Heroes, movies that make us. Was it the Celtic Ray films?
Celtic Ray Filmworks. Our website's CelticRayFilmworks.com. Thank you for that.
There you go. Yeah, just follow us all. I mean, obviously, we know a lot about movies. We're all incredible dudes. Listen to our podcast where we collaborate with other great individuals like Craig from Matinee Heroes and my wife Izzy.
Well, as we've learned today, you know some of the movies because some picks were not that great. Some were fantastic, very spotty, but everybody did really well. If you like the show, please give us feedback. Today was a little hitchy. I'm going to figure out why that is. I don't know what's going on today. My computer decides to be real iffy. But if you like us, we're at Matinee Heroes on Twitter, at Matinee Heroes on twitch.tv/Matinee Heroes, and on YouTube as Matinee Heroes, and on Facebook as Matinee Heroes. So on behalf of Richard Jensen, the Celtic Ray Workshop, Steve Kondrick of Everything I Learned from Movies, Tracy Mangum of Movies That Make Us, I am Craig Price, and congratulations, Steve. You made it. Tell Izzy you're a winner.
Good
I
job,
will.
Steve.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Well done.
And it may take a second to actually stop the broadcast. That's how slow the computer's going today for some reason.